Hi everybody, welcome to Game On. I'm Matt.
I'm Justin, and this is a show about tabletop gaming, from RPGs to board games, and
everything in between.
Yeah, today I want to talk a little bit about Savage Worlds.
Okay, make me smarter.
Tell
me about Savage Worlds.
I want to just do a quick little let's see, hedging here. I'm not going to tell you all the ins and outs, because there's still things I'm learning about it, so...
Okay, you're not going to sit here and read me the rulebook?
No.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Because that would be really dull.
Okay.
But I think that you telling me what you love about the game would be much more interesting and actually informative to me.
Yeah.
As I mentioned in another video, this is a hole in my resume. I've heard some about Savage Worlds, I've thumbed through material, book, whatever, but I never played Savage Worlds. Not once, not ever.
Yeah, and I hadn't either until a couple of years ago, so...
Well, that puts you 2 years up on me. So, tell me what you like. One presumes if you're still playing after 2 years, you like it. So...
Might even be 3 at this point.
Well, and the other video that I referenced was the one where we talked about compiling our ideal RPG, and you borrowed heavily from a couple elements from Savage Worlds.
I did.
Talking about your sort of ideal...
I did, yeah.
So...
I think the elephant in the room with a lot of RPGs is the dice system, so I just want to talk about that.
Okay, starting with dice systems. Cool.
So, the dice that you roll is directly, basically, goes off of how good you are at the skill or the attribute.
Okay.
So, if everyone that can is at least a D4, but it can go all the way up to D12, which is nice because that's a nice, easier. That's a visual way you can be like, oh, she rolls a D8 for stealth, and I only roll a D4. That means she's better.
Right. Well, and intuitiveness in a dice system, we've talked about this a million times, I think is really valuable, right? It's valuable because it just makes sense to everybody who's playing, no matter how experienced you are or whether this is the first time playing the system. If it just is instantly identifiable and recognizable for what it is, oh, yeah, I'm looking at a handful of dice, and this one has more sides than the other. Yeah. Therefore, more is better.
Exactly.
Right. So, and well, it's not the only game that do that, right? No. Like, doesn't some of the Fantasy Flight ones with their specialized dice, don't they have like different facets or sides that kind of...
Yeah.
And I want to say, is it 13th Age that kind of does that too? I think
it might
gives you a different die depending on what class you are, what ability you are, ability level you are at something. Like you have intuitively inherently a higher ability to do something, so you get a bigger die.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't played any 13th Age. Not that I know of. Maybe I have. But
anyway, so not unique to Savage Worlds, but Savage Worlds does it really well.
Yes. Cool. And as a player character, you're something called a wild in the game.
I am wild.
You're a wild. So what that means is that with your die roll, again, let's say that Renee is rolling stealth, and she's rolling a D8, because that's her stealth.
Are we allowed to say who Renee is?
That's my wife. So let's say she's rolling her D8 for stealth. Not only that, but she gets something called a wild die, which is a D6. So she also gets to roll a D6 with it and take the higher of the two.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So it's like advantage in D&D.
Exactly. Now, here's where things...
5th edition D&D.
Here's where the math gets kind of interesting. So it's exploding die. Meaning... Exploding die. So...
What expensive.
Yeah, it's roughly, we say usually 4 is kind of like the target number, the DC to do something.
Okay, so on a D6, that would be a 50%, right?
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 is success, and 1, 2, 3 is fail.
Yeah, so that seems easier than a D4, because that's 1 and 4, right?
Yeah, you'd only have a 25% chance
Exactly.
to succeed.
But you have a
Statistics.
but you have a better chance on that D4 of getting the highest number, which is a 4, than a 6 on a D6.
Yes, 1 in 4 as opposed to 1
1
in
in
6.
6. Or at that
Also statistics.
At that point,
or probability, I guess we should say.
At that point, you get to roll it again and add the 2. So, and you can keep rolling and rolling.
Wait, you add the 2?
Yes. So if you roll a D4, you get a 4, and you roll another 3. That's 7 now. So that's better than what you would roll on a D6.
Right.
But
And anytime you're rolling 2 dice, you normalize for the middle of the distribution, right? You create a natural bell curve because there's multiple ways to combine those dice into the middle numbers, but there's only one way to combine them at the edges.
Yeah.
So if your target number sits in the nice sweet spot of the meat of that bell curve,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a very high degree of probability of succeeding.
yeah, so it's really cool to, like, one of our players, Kevin, he casts spells, and, like, his intelligence is like a D12, which is awesome because he can roll. If most of the time your target number is a 4, he's got a lot of chances to beat a 4.
75%.
But how many times are you going to roll a 12 on the D12? It's less.
1/12 of the time.
Exactly. So it's kind of a play between trying to figure out, having the higher die is better in general, but having the lower die also means that you have a better chance of rolling it again and adding the 2.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I've seen our game master Wendell, when he was attacking one of our players, I saw him loop a D6 like 7 times against him, and that was just like,
When the GM does that kind of stuff, they very quickly become a less popular GM. Let me just say.
he does roll in the open. But, like, I've looped a D4 a lot of times, which it's just that's kind of like, instead of a crit, that's kind of like the fun of it. It's like, it's not a natural 20, but it's a 4, so I get to keep going.
And you know my favorite dice system, the old White Wolf dice system, had the same thing. 10s, you re-roll 10s.
There you go.
So if they're 10-sided die, you 1 is a critical failure, but 10 you get to re-roll. And if, say, your difficulty level standard is a 6, which is a 50-50 on a D10, right? So, but you roll a 10, which means you get to re-roll that 10 and have a chance at getting 2 successes with 1 die. Or maybe, again, you keep looping it, you get, the sky's the limit. As long as you keep rolling a 10 over and over again, you just keep adding to the equation. So,
But what's really nice here is that now, like, let's say that Kevin was trying to roll that D12. He has that wild die, the D6. So he has a chance of being able to loop that D6 instead of the 12.
Right.
So he still has a better... You always have a good chance at looping your dice.
And like your point, the smaller the die, the easier it is to loop it.
Yep.
But the lower the total, or the lower the amount that dice can peak out at, the higher the probability that you'll get to roll it again.
So it's a fun mechanic. I like that.
It is. There's a lot of permutations to it without it being complicated.
Yeah.
So I can see why you like it. That's actually good.
The other part that I really like about it is the magic system, and I'm gonna have to quickly talk about edges, which is their version of feats. So let's say that I was building my ranger character, Ranger Rick.
Okay.
He's not really.
Wasn't Ranger Rick a raccoon?
It was a magazine too.
Yeah, but I felt like the character was like a raccoon.
Maybe. I don't remember. I don't remember. So
Derailed your thoughts.
Yeah.
See
So
what happens when you want to dominate a video? I'm just gonna keep throwing you curveballs.
Magic system. So when you're building your character, you can take a whole bunch of different kinds of feats. Some of them have prerequisites. Because the way the leveling system goes is it's like novice, advanced, expert, and then like something else. I don't remember the exact all of them. But like, it's not a level, it's a band of advancements that give you access to certain kinds of edges, so to speak.
Edges meaning that's their term for some sort of an advantage.
Yeah, like a feat.
Okay.
And my character doesn't cast magic. He's not a magical character, but he could be. Because any character, it doesn't matter what, any character could take the edge that allows him to be a spellcaster. So you don't have to force yourself into like a wizard class or anything.
So it's not multi-classing, it's just adding that sort of topper onto that.
It's adding that edge. And this is what I really like about their magic system, is that you have a pool of points to cast from. Each spell has a certain amount of pools of points that it takes to cast. So like a fireball might take 5 points in your pool of 20.
Okay.
Or if you want to upcast it, you might have to do more damage, you might have to add 2 more to it. But what that means is that there's no spell levels.
Right.
It's like, I can cast that spell when I take more magic points, which is another advantage you can take. So I can cast that 35-point magic spell.
Right.
I mean, that's a little high, but what I'm trying to say is that there's no... it's not like in D&D where you can't cast something until your 7th level.
Right. Well, it's the difference between... It sounds to me like the magic system uses the difference between an experience point buy system and a leveling system. They do the same concept with magic.
Yeah.
Right? You have a point buy system for your spells as opposed to a level system where it's prescribed that you can only do this or that. You get to decide if you want to cast a 1 point, assuming there is such a thing, a 1 point spell, a cantrip or whatever, and you want to cast it 20 times, knock yourself out. If you got 20 points, just keep rapid firing that sucker as much as you want.
Exactly. Or you could upcast it to do more damage, and now it costs 2 points. But I
like that the power is in, no pun intended, but the power is in the hands of the player to decide exactly how they want to manifest their abilities.
Yeah, they have a menu that they can look at, and they go, I have that much, let me buy that, and then cast that.
Very cool.
Yeah, and what's cool is that it's not locked to, because it's not a class, anyone can do that. So
Can I ask, what is involved in recharging your pool of points? Like, how does that happen?
Okay, so I know a few ways. So on a rest, you can get them back.
Okay. So that's similar to D&D.
Yeah, there's a kind of a mechanic to this game called benefits. Everyone calls them bennies. Most people use poker chips to show them. It's basically your luck. It's kind of like a way to spend your luck. Lets you re-roll things.
Okay.
It lets you redraw your initiative, that kind of thing. You can spend your benefits, your bennies, to get 5 more points back. So, and you can get bennies by doing fun things, like, I don't know. I know that Wendell, like, if you make a really good pun, he'll give you a benefit. So,
that is encouraging people to just throw out every single one they can think of, and hopefully the one lands well enough that they get points for it.
Yeah, the game nights are usually the nights that I have to sleep on the couch, but with all the things I throw out. But you can also, this segues right into it. Initiative is done by a deck of cards.
Traditional playing cards.
Okay. With the Joker in it.
Okay.
If you get the so you go from high to low, but the Joker being the highest. With the Joker, you can replenish some of your bennies. I don't remember if that replenishes some of your magic points.
Well, but you, by secondary effect, can do that, right? You could replenish your benefits, which you then could spend to replenish your magic points.
Exactly. Okay. So that's always a big fun deal when someone pulls that, because that means everybody at the table gets another benny. So everyone benefits from it. And then that person gets to go first, and then they get like +2 or 3 to everything they do, which is pretty fun. But you don't like it when the GM does it, because they have benefits too that they can spend on us.
How many Jokers in the deck? 2, 4?
I don't remember. 2, I guess.
Depends.
I think it's 2.
Okay. So 2 out of, I guess it would be 54 then, because normally a deck is 52, so you get 2 extra cards, 54. 2 out of 54. Okay.
Yeah.
1 in 27 chains? Okay.
Yeah, and
probability.
It's just I like it. I have like a special edge that lets me mill the deck down until I get a card that I more want. And once you draw the Joker, you have to reshuffle it all and redraw. And what's cool is that this is one of those games, and other games do it, but this is one of those games that every round you redo initiative, so that you're not always stuck at last. You know. So those are the big points that I'm really liking about it. The only thing I'm having a hard time, I still have a hard time kind of realizing it in my head. The way that they do like wounds is a little bit confusing. I get it when I look at the character sheet, but without looking at the character sheet, it's a little bit confusing. Where you have like an AC, they call it your parry, to hit you, and then to see if they hit, and then they roll damage, and then there's a threshold of damage that you can take. So
well, what it sounds to me like is that they have a fixed damage soak value based on your attribute, your endurance, or whatever the metric is. And that is your ability to resist initial injury when being struck.
Yep.
Right? Like, for lack of a more specific description, if I punched you in the jaw and you just smiled at me, it means I didn't hit you hard enough, right? And so if you're tougher, you can laugh off a harder punch before it starts doing damage.
Yes, exactly. And what the benefit of being a wild is that you can shrug off your wounds. So like if I take 1 wound, I can spend a Benny to roll out of that wound. So I can try to either avoid it altogether, or I can try to like spirit will it away. I like that. I like that the wounds, as many wounds as you take, that's your negatives to everything that you're rolling against. It goes to show that like, hey, you're hurt. It's harder to do things.
Right. Which we've talked about in that other video where, look, combat effectiveness should deteriorate with wear and tear. Yeah. Whether you're tired, whether you're wounded, whether you're this, whether you're that, you should be less good at stuff when you're in a less optimal condition.
Yes. Yeah. I know that Yuri, Kali, and Wendell are watching this right now and screaming at the monitor that I haven't said something or I said something wrong. Sorry, guys, I'm not an expert.
He didn't read the books to me, so yeah, there's going to be
I'm giving you an incredibly long elevator pitch. We got stuck in an elevator for a little bit.
All right.
But that's what I like about it, so.
Well, I wanted to play before. I want to play more now.
Okay.
So, your pitch worked.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Sweet. You hear that, Wendell? Okay. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. My name is Justin.
I'm Matt.
And let us know in the comments below if you've ever played Savage Worlds. How
many savages are there?
There's a lot.
Let's see. We'll find out. They'll identify themselves in the comments.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys again for watching.
Indeed. And thank you for sharing your thoughts about Savage World.
Oh yeah, you're welcome.
Unpaid advertisement.
Exactly.
Cool.
As always, guys, game on.